Great to see you all. Julie, let's start with you, because your piece from last week for Puck was a bit prophetic in foreseeing how the Trump-Putin summit would conclude. You wrote in part this: personally, I don't think the summit in Anchorage will result in the kind of deal that Trump has been promising. The absolute best case scenario is the one the Kremlin proximate source outlined, a modest beginning of a very long and even more tenuous peace process. And even then, I imagine a settlement will look the way military analyst Michael Kaufman once described it to me, something that resembles the late 20th century status quo between Israel and the surrounding Arab states, involving a hot war every few years, followed by a bitterly cold peace. Rinse and repeat for decades and decades to come. So, Julia, talk to us a little more about what you saw Friday night in Anchorage, but now more immediately, what we saw yesterday at the White House. What was a historic meeting, to be sure, of European leaders. Much better vibes than the last time Zelensky was there in February. Promises of security guarantees, hopes of another meeting, but still a lot of concrete details to be hashed out.
I think that's the key. The fact that we don't know many of the details, and that not everybody is singing from the same hymnal, as it were. We have the Europeans and Trump talking about security guarantees. Steve Witkoff talked about it over the weekend, that he got some kind of Article 5-like security guarantee for Ukraine. Article 5 is the thing that makes NATO. And Russia is still very much opposed to that. So it doesn't quite make sense. The math doesn't math, as it were, because how do you get Article 5-like protections for Ukraine if Russia is so opposed to them, and the security guarantees are against Russia? I mean, this is the thing that my mind keeps sticking on, is what are these security guarantees going to look like? There have been conflicting reports. Some have shown, some outlets have reported that Russia wants China and Belarus to be part of the security guarantees. And so imagine that there's a ceasefire, the war ends, and then Ukraine says, wait, Russia just shot a missile at one of our cities. And the security guarantors, including China and Belarus, say, didn't happen. We didn't see it. And they have veto power over whether or not there's a tripwire, whether this gets triggered and a collective defense of Ukraine gets triggered. So then what happens? And you're seeing the Europeans, for example, talk about peacekeeping troops, European peacekeeping troops in Ukraine. Russia has already yesterday and today shot that down and said the foreign ministry yesterday during the meeting came out and said that any European boots on the ground in Ukraine would trigger what they said unlimited escalation of the conflict. So it all looks good on the surface. Everyone's meeting, everyone's talking, and that's great. And if they reach a peace deal, fantastic.
Right.
But Russia's already indicating, we don't like this, we don't like that. That's a no-go. That's a no-starter. So what are we talking about?
Well, and Julia, so I'm so glad you're here. You understand Russia. You understand Putin's mindset, the leader's mindset so well. The fact is, they're taking maximalist positions. Doesn't cost them anything to take those maximalist positions.
Right.
The question is, as these negotiations move forward, how much will sanctions that the U.S. Senate wants to pass, Republicans in the Senate as well as Democrats, how much will those sanctions hurt? Will that be enough to move Putin? Or we heard the possibility of a $90 billion U.S. aid package to Ukraine yesterday from Zelensky. Would that be enough? Talk about the state right now of the Russian economy. Talk about the state of the Russian military after just a million casualties, and what is, at the end of the day, what is the leverage point that the West has over Putin?
Well, I think what Donald Trump has gotten right is that we don't have a tremendous amount of leverage over Putin now that we've taken off American boots on the ground, right? Which understandably nobody wants to see. But the fact that both Biden, Obama, and now Trump have said we're not doing that, that's it. That's the leverage. The sanctions would hurt, but the previous sanctions have also hurt. It's just that Russia's whole thing, especially when you see them valorize and kind of cultify World War II, in which they lost 27 million people, and they don't see it as a tragedy. They see it as a point of pride. They see the fact that they just go and die, that they're willing to outdie and outsuffer the West, as a point of pride, that this marks somehow their spiritual superiority over us, right? Over us in the West. And so, yes, the sanctions will hurt. Yes, the Russian economy is, it was roaring this time a year ago, but now interest rates are 21%. Okay. Russia's spending so much money on defense. It is flooding its own market with not just defense spending, but also all this cash it's handing out to people who are signing up to serve, right? And still, the Russian economy has only grown at 1.4, around 1.8%. They're now hiding demographic data, because what it's showing is that the Russian population is shrinking because of all the people dying in the war. Okay. Yesterday,
and the brain drain at the beginning of the war. But go ahead.
They don't care. They don't care about the brain drain. They need people who are brainless. Okay, they need people who are brainless to go and die. People with brains disagree. People with brains fight back. They protest. They don't want that. They need mindless people to go and die. But even to that point, yesterday, there was an important story in a Russian independent news outlet called Important Stories that showed that the number of people who signed up with the Russian Defense Ministry to fight in Ukraine was at its lowest level in 2.5 years. So that's important. But again, that's all not great, right? Russia's also not doing great in this war. There's this narrative that Russia's winning, Russia's doing amazingly, Ukraine isn't. Neither side is doing particularly well.
Neither side is winning. And Walter Isaacs and the brain drain I was talking about had to do with the connection long term with their economy, when they have the best and the brightest fleeing, which they did after the war, and they continue to flee right now. At some point, that comes back on them. I want to quote the Wall Street Journal editorial page, which has been very tough on Donald Trump, as we know, over the past 6 months, on tariffs, on Ukraine, on a lot of different issues. They have an op-ed that headline, "Trump gets real on Ukraine security." And let me read a line from here. They quote Donald Trump. A reporter asked Mr. Trump whether he'd rule out U.S. troops as part of a security guarantee. And he said, this is Donald Trump, "There's going to be a lot of help," Mr. Trump said. "They are the first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe. But we are going to help them out also. We are going to be involved. The Europeans want to give protection. They feel very strongly about it, and we will help them out with that." Right now, Walter, we've seen back and forth in negotiations through the years. I've got to say also, one constant throughout all of time is the overestimation of Russia's military power and Russia's economic power. None of us saw the complete collapse of the Soviet Union coming as quickly as it did between 1989 and 1991. I just wonder if the huffing and the puffing and the going to blow your house down routine coming out of the Kremlin yesterday was in response to the existential threat of the West, all in one place, all at one time, all saying, yes, we're going to provide security guarantees.
Well, it's certainly a nightmare for them, especially when you have the president of Finland now in NATO and saying we've got this long border. But Julia's right. They're not really going. They feel tougher and they're going to outlast us. On the economic front, one of the things that's happened is oil is now down to about $63 a barrel. That's taken about $20 billion out of the Russian economy. They're going to start to hurt. I think we're seeing the outlines of a deal. We're now arguing over what will the peacekeeping and tripwire forces look like and what logos will be on their helmets. But I think if you can get a peacekeeping force in there that's not technically a NATO force, but multinational, and you have a tripwire right at the front, in the end, that's going to be the way out of this.
Yeah, and that's a key, the tripwire. In West Germany, we had enough troops from 1947 on that, they wouldn't be able to repel a Soviet invasion. but you kill a few American troops, that's the tripwire. We've done the same thing in Korea. We never had enough U.S. troops in South Korea to repel a North Korean invasion. But those U.S. troops there, and they knew it, they were tripwires. And a message to North Korea, come in and you pay the ultimate price. Vladimir Putin, for all of his swagger, will not be in a position to kill troops from Great Britain, to kill troops from France, to kill contractors from the United States who are rebuilding the country that he's destroyed over the past couple of years. I think that's a theory of the case coming out of the White House that I hear.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's one of the options being considered. You know, it wouldn't be U.S. soldiers, but there certainly could be U.S. civilians, U.S. business interests there in Ukraine as the nation rebuilds.
And the U.S. military consultants, U.S. intel agents, U.S. special forces quietly there.
Yes, and U.S. finances, U.S. equipment. So, J. Mart, we know traditionally the Republican Party very hawkish on Russia. That dynamic has changed in the Trump era, but there are still some there who very much have been clear and forceful. Vladimir Putin, the bad guy. You know, there is the MAGA wing that is more skeptical of that argument, but it does seem like right now some pressure from Capitol Hill, you know, seeing this moment here, nervous about Alaska, but seeing Trump staying with Zelensky yesterday. Talk to us about that dynamic up and down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Well, I thought Lindsey Graham would have stowed himself on Air Force One for the Alaska trip, John, to try to keep Trump steady there. Last week in Anchorage, I'm only half joking here. No, look, there is a wing of the Republican Party, I think you could say led by Lindsey Graham, but also includes Tom Cotton, other hawks in Congress, who are constantly riding herd or trying to ride herd on Trump to keep him on the kind of Reaganite line. Obviously, some days it's easier than others. Yesterday, you didn't need Lindsey Graham and Tom Cotton because you had their European equivalent, right? You had the president of Finland, Trump's golf buddy, who Trump has caught on a hot mic bragging about, Alex Stubbs' golf game being really, really impressive. And you had folks like, Ruda, the Secretary General of NATO there. So you didn't need those folks. But yes, there are going to be hawks in Trump's ear. There's no question about it. It's sort of keep him going. But I think John, right now in a political stalemate in terms of these negotiations because of what the Chancellor of Germany said yesterday, which I thought should have gotten more attention, which is we're not going to have one more meeting if there's not going to be a ceasefire. That Putin is now where he wants this to be. Protracted negotiations about negotiations. And all the while, he's able to throw more troops on the front line, slow walk the next step of the negotiations. Well, I'm not sure I can make the 14th of September, Mr. President. How about October? Let's look at that. And then I think you're just months and months into the fall, toward the winter. The fighting is going on, and the pressure on Zelensky grows, and Putin's still asking for what Joe called those maximalist demands, which is going to include territory they have not yet won on the battlefield. And you come back to the central question: how is Zelensky at home politically going to survive giving the Russians any land they haven't already won on the battlefield and surviving that? I just can't see it.